which is the culture variation. If you remember last uh, last lesson yesterday, we were talking about the differences between cultures all over the world. Keep in your mind that although the basic the basic needs of all humans are the same, and by the basic needs I mean Yasin. Yasin Mahmoud, can you tell me some examples of the basic needs of
ايوه
humans?
مستر.
Basic needs.
مستر معلش انا في مشكله عندي في تيمز، الصوت واطي قوي مش سامع حاجه. ممكن اطلع اخش؟
Okay, no problem.
اوكي ثانيه.
Can you hear me clearly, guys?
Yes, very clearly.
Okay, see, this is his own problem. Who can tell me, guys, what about the human basic needs?
Sir, I can, but I can't raise my hand يعني.
Okay, be my guest.
We talked about things like marriage, things like food, like education, things like this.
Yes, exactly. So, guys, food, marriage, and to bury your beloved ones are examples of the basic human needs. Okay? By the basic human needs, I mean that they are essential to every single human being in the world. Okay? Let me, before I forget, all of you guys have already taken 2 quizzes, right? That's true?
Yes.
Okay, that's it. Because I have one missing student. I'm searching for him. He's not in your class. So, guys, the basic needs are essential to all of the humans all over the world. Although we share the basic human needs, we have differences between cultures all over the world. We have something called culture variation. Why do you think? And I have already told you that yesterday. As a reminder, my friends, because people will use lot of techniques, lot of ways in order to fulfill their needs. Okay, so people are using their minds in order to fulfill their needs. For example, what do I mean by all of this talking? Family is one of the common or one of the basic interests among the humans all over the world. And of course, the purpose or the function of a family is simply to raise and take good care of the children. Let's talk about family. Of course, here in our culture, according to our society, according to our traditions, while talking about family, even if I ask a student in grade 1, if I ask him what's a family, he will tell me brother, mother, sister, brother. So this is gonna mean both parents and their children. This is family. But keep in your mind that in some places in the world, you can have a family with only one parent. Okay? So, in order to be specific, uh, it's one or both parents and their children. Like there was an issue a couple of years ago talking about the single mother, how they want to establish a family with a single parent. Okay, so it's a norm. In some places all over the world, there is a norm says that by yourself you can establish your own family. You can simply adopt one of the kids in order to take good care of him. Uh, and to prepare him in order to be an efficient member in the society. Okay, even though marriage by itself, here, according, of course, because we are obliged to follow the traditions of our religion. Of course, in order to establish a family, it must be within the marriage area. But in some places all over the world, you can simply establish a family without marriage. It's according to their culture, right? So people are different in fulfilling their ways. But keep in your mind that by talking about the basic human needs, I mean the culture universals, our first term in this lesson. Culture universals. Culture universals are simply the basic human needs that is popular among the people. So the culture universals are the needs that are basic in all the societies all over the world. And the society must develop a way, must develop a system in order to fulfill these basic needs. Okay? Sociologists have made a research in order to define and in order to make a list of the culture universals. And they concluded them in 65 items. Okay? Among them, they were health, family, housing, and so on. We have a lot of basic needs. So what's important to me? Our first definition, the culture universal, basic human needs among the people. Okay, let's go on. But before going on, I want to make sure that please, I'm not talking to myself. If I ask Ziad Mustafa, Ziad, can you please tell me, Ziad, what are the culture universals?
Cultural universals are similarities usually found in different cultures.
Similarities. Okay. It seems that you are reading. I have no problem, by the way, but please make sure that you got or understand the meaning. I have no problem, by the way. You can simply give me the answer by using your own words. Do not just copy and paste the answer, or do not just blindly memorize them. Okay? So, guys, basic human needs among the world. Do you think, from your own point of view, that the cultures around the world will be different than each other, or within the same culture, with a single culture, we can find culture variations? Again, let me rephrase it. Culture variation, from the beginning of our discussion about this lesson, I have been telling you that there is some kind of differences
Mr.
between different cultures. Yes.
Mr. It happens. Maybe in Egypt we have a common culture, but every, for example, town have something more or something less. Got me?
What do you mean? Can you elaborate it a little bit, please, my friend?
Um, Mr. For example, this was in the past that in some in some in some يعني towns that girls was married from age of 14, but in cities or countries that's not يعني acceptable. It may be the same country يعني Egypt مثلا, بس in some towns they have different يعني different things in the culture.
Okay, it's a point of view. Your friend says that within the same culture there are some variations. Do you agree? Let me give you an example. Then try to think about an example from our real world. My example will be, guys, about the Chinatown. Of course, the Chinatown is located in New York. Okay, over there. Here I'm talking about the American society. Keep it in your mind. But within the American society, okay, I have the Chinatown. What is it? It's simply a smaller China where you're gonna find the signboards and the writings on the street is written in the Chinese language. And they are practicing their culture over there. For example, of course, the American society would celebrate the New Year with a national holiday and with Christmas and with a lot of things related to their culture. But according to the Chinese culture, they are not celebrating the Christmas. They will celebrate the beginning of their Chinese year. Because as you know, there is a Chinese calendar, and the Chinese calendar is not following the Gregorian one. So they are practicing their own folklore. They are practicing their own culture. They use the Chinese language as their way of communication, because simply language is one of the components of culture. Even though they are using the Chinese language in their communication, when they send their children to public schools, the children will be taught in English, not in Chinese. So, in order to have a subculture within the main culture, this will result in a mixture. It will not be the same. It will not be the American one or even the Chinese one. It's gonna be a blend. It's gonna be a mixture of these two cultures. And this we're gonna call it subculture. To live peacefully within the main culture, to establish your own community, a smaller community, to practice your culture within the main frame or within the main culture. Can you give me another example, my friends? Try to think about one. Nothing? No
May I
example?
try, sir?
Be my guest.
I think, for example, in Egypt, people in like Aswan or Aswan and Alexandria, for example, like they have some sort of dialect, or Said, I mean, like Said, have some sort of dialect. People in Alexandria have another dialect. They eat different foods based, like for example, Alexandria eats fish because they're near the sea, and so on.
It's a point of view. So that's, do you mean that in some places in your Egypt, your example, are practicing their own culture within the main one?
No, but they have some variations, like they're not the same. For example, people in countries are different from like the culture things about marriage and what they eat are different from people in cities.
Okay, it's a point of view. Thank you, Abdurrahman. By the way, guys, let me tell you something. Here in your class, in 12 White, I have only, you can say, 4 students who usually participates on regular basis. But what about the others? How do you think you will earn or you will get your participation marks? Here, while asking you, my friends, about your opinion, about what do you think about an example, I'm not asking you about the correct and wrong answers. Your response will not be evaluated. God, in order to get the participation marks, there is no need to get the correct answer. I'm just asking you, what do you think? What do you think about this issue? Do you think that we can make a real relationship between what we are studying, between sociology, and between the real world, the real culture? So nothing in your mind. You are not watching movies, for example. Okay. So there's no response. Let me continue. Okay.
صار أنا رفعي.
Okay. Sorry, I didn't notice. Yes, Karim.
According to the question of subculture, because I providing question about subculture, maybe the Indian society here in Saudi Arabia, we may consider them as subculture, which they talk with each other in their normal language, but when they are encountering someone else from outside their society, they talk to him in Arabic or even in English.
Thank you very much. In fact, This is an example from the real world we are living in. Of course, they want to practice their own culture by using their own language, okay? Even though they know and they had an idea that anybody else who's listening to their conversation will not be able to translate whatever they are talking about. And try to think about another example, like international schools here in Riyadh. You're gonna see in some international schools related to communities, like to have a specific school for Pakistani people and another school for Filipinos and so on, in order to practice their own culture. Got the point of view? In order to make a relationship with their home country. So guys, what I need to tell you, if the smaller group or the smaller culture is simply living peacefully and practicing their culture without making any problems in the society, we will consider it a subculture. On the other hand, maybe we have some cultures that want to make a social change. Some cultures, some smaller groups in the society want to make, maybe they do not like one of the values in the society. They do not like one of the norms of the society. So they want to change it. And maybe, they said maybe, they will use violence or they will use their tools, their power, in order to enforce the society to accept their social change. For example, the hippie movement. The hippie movement back over there in the 1960s, it was the beginning of this kind of music. Okay, so they want to spread their culture among the people to share their beliefs, value. They were talking about problems in the society and how to fix them. And they developed it a little bit. So it was hippie. Later on, it was known as hip hop. Nowadays, you can say that it's rap. So they are simply discussing their social problems and how to fix them. And of course, in order to belong to one of these subcultures or one of these minority groups in the society, there will be some kind of special clothing, talking in a specific way, and try maybe, for example, some fast cars or fancy cars in order to show your membership of belonging to this group. And maybe you will use violence, like mafia, for example, organized crime families. Of course, they want to enforce the people or enforce the society. They want to change the norms of the society to accept their values. They promote mafia, for example, they promote killing or they promote murder. They promote money laundering. So they want to make it acceptable among the people. And of course, they will use violence or even the threat of violence in order to be accepted in the society. So counter-revolution, my friends, if you have a problem with the society, if you want to reject one of its values, you will use violence, or you want to replace them. You want to simply replace the norms or the values of the society, okay? But if you're going to live peacefully in the society, this will be subculture. Got the difference between both of them, my friends, or not yet? Please, if you didn't get it,
Yes.
you can ask me to repeat it. I have no problem.
No.
We got it.
Okay. Ahmed Magdi, would you please be kind enough and tell me what's the difference between the subculture and the counter one?
I tell the difference between the subculture and the counterculture.
Yes.
The subculture, Mr. Yeah, يعني في باترن يا مستر غير اللارجر كلتشر، انما الكاونتر كلتشر يعني ما بتحبش يعني values لوحدهم، يعني doesn't share values or measure values او مش يعني الو.
In fact, Ahmed, I need a complete sentence.
طيب سب كلتشر يا مستر شيء يعني في باترن but counter culture is no pattern, no measure pattern.
What do you mean by pattern?
pattern like values or يعني culture يا مستر يعني values of culture.
Values of culture, shared values. Okay, this is for the subculture. Okay, Ahmed, I didn't figure out what do you really mean, but okay.
I said يا مستر حضرتك سامعني؟
Yes, but there is some surrounding noise, but there is no problem. Yes, talk.
طب مستر طب يعني في مشكلة في المايك يعني ممكن
خلاص, no problem. خلاص, no problem. Okay. Who can help me here, guys? Who can simply give me an example? Or sorry, the differentiation.
Go.
You are Karim, right?
Oh. Subculture, they are peaceful, living in peace, while counterculture will use force or use force. Yeah.
Thank you. This is the main difference between both of them, guys. Okay? Subculture, they are simply living peacefully within the main culture. They have no problem. The main culture will practice its norms, its values, and the sub one or the smaller one will simply practice their values and their norms peacefully without making any problems. But maybe if you have the tools and the minority group or the minority culture do not accept or they rejected, they refused one of the norms or one of the values of the society, they will use violence in order to enforce the society to a social change. Okay? And our example for the counterculture will be mafia and the hippie movement. Is it clear, guys, or you have problems?
Clear. Mr. May I ask a question?
Be my guest.
Mr. Like, for example, in the United States, there is I think it's a subgroup of people that like came illegally, like illegal immigrants, and like had their sons or their daughters, whatever. These people, they call them like the sons of illegal immigrants. Okay. Now the problem is that they can't get free housing or free education. So, and they're making protests and trying to change the situation in order to have free housing and free education. Are they a type of counterculture?
They want to make problems, they want to change the norms of the society, or they accepted this condition and they know for sure that they are illegals. So here is the question. Do they accept or reject the norms and values of the society?
Yes, they do not. First of all, counterculture, like, can it be without violence? Because I could just make like Black Lives Matter movement. It's they want to advocate something without violence.
So you want to advocate, you will simply suggest that there is one of the norms on the society we must change. Okay? Right? This is your point of view. So it's
Yes,
only
so
talking. It's only talking. They will not enforce their suggestion. Here I'm talking about the enforcement. They reject one of the norms of the society and they want to change it. Okay, let me give you another example. Talking about rap, of course, I think it's a common issue to big fans of music. By myself, I'm not. Okay, but I think let's talk about the crime ratio regarding the rap singers. I think it's a noticed ratio, or not, or you didn't notice such a thing. There is a crime among the rap singers, for example, or not?
Yes يا مستر but
No.
not all of them
ايوه يا
يعني
مستر.
mostly يعني mostly.
Mostly. طيب, try to compare this ratio by tennis players, for example. There is any crime ratio among the tennis players, the basketball players, among rock singers? Or this is related or limited only to the rap singers?
Limited.
Yes, it's limited.
Mr.
It's limited
maybe
to
it's
them.
Mr. maybe it's a rumor and it was يعني اتحطت عليهم كلهم مش شرط كلهم كده يعني.
So it's a rumor. It's not a true fact. This is your point of view. You are
يعني
suggesting.
it's not a must.
You are
It's not a
suggesting,
must
or
because
you.
he's a rapper. اتفضل يا مستر.
Yes, no problem. Continue talking.
يا مستر I mean يعني it's not a must because he's the rapper that he have a history, crime history, criminal history, but maybe that's يعني ايه most of them are like this, so the people put in their mind that all of them are like this.
Yes. Okay. I totally agree with you that this is called the stereotyping, but there is some of them who used to be criminals, okay, ex-convicts, and there is no problem. Okay, but they want to promote the change in society. They want to promote the usage of bad words or bad language among the society. So do you think it's good or bad to have your little brother or little sister, and here I'm talking about American society, talking such a language, to repeat their words? So they want to change, the social order, right? This is my point
Mr.
of
For
view.
example,
Yes.
if we talked about the Chinatown, like for example, if these people said like we want the whole United States to speak in Chinese, and they began to like for example like make movements or like try to change schools and so on.
Protests,
Yes.
and so on.
And also like enforcing them, like going to bar, like going to restaurants and saying you will
So
speak
this
Chinese.
way, their condition will be shifted from a subculture to a counter one.
Okay.
From the word counter, you are against. Okay, you are against the beliefs, the norms of the society. But the subculture, you have no problem. Of course, there are some differences between the two cultures. No problem. You enjoy this difference, but you will not promote the change.
Mister, I have a question.
Be my guest, my friend.
So you mean counter culture? You don't have to. If you're only against the culture, or if you enforce or.
Not against the culture as a whole. You only against one of the values, one of the norms, something in the society you do not like it. Like, for example, let me tell you something, the usage of violence, okay? There are some members in the society or groups in the society, they are simply obliged to use force. Okay, like the police, for example. Okay, so they are authorized by the society to use violence. Okay, but maybe, and they said maybe, they will misuse their power. Like the issue happened, I think, before the corona
George
pandemic.
Floyd.
Yes, exactly. So, of course, this is a material to discuss in their songs. So, they want to promote something. They will simply advocate the society. We have an issue. Try to figure out a solution. They are simply discussing this problem. So if they are members of the counter-revolution, they can simply go to this police officer's place of residence and kill him as taking revenge. Got the issue? Talking or actions. That's it. In order to make unique differences between both of them.
So if there is an action, it's a counterculture.
Exactly. Thank you very much. If there is an action taken, yes, it's a counter one.
Okay.
Like the rappers, of course, they killed each other. Tupac, for example, they killed him in a concert. So it gonna mean that if you are using actions, you are against the culture you are living in. And I can tell you now, guys, that we have already reached the end of our lesson today. Thank you very much.